Barak Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem, Reich Concordat. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is The Kings of the Earth. I was watching a video yesterday. I don't remember exactly what video it was, but that idea came to mind to look this up because you have the world rulers, on the planet that are pretty much, for the most part, puppets and pawns, working behind the scenes with the rest of the international banking families, to a certain degree, to establish, this agenda of the NWO. And all of these kings, which are rulers, and the scriptures call them kings of the earth, which are pretty much rulers of the earth, are pretty much in bed with America, doing different deals, having certain things being portrayed in their country based off of America, because America is that great harlot. So what I have just a couple of precepts I was going to go into dealing with this subject, and let's see how the spirit moves. Hopefully it'll be edifying. And, you brothers, a few sisters can get, some edification out of it and learn something from it. All right, so let's go real quick to the book of First Ezra, the first chapter. And was that First Ezra 1? Let me see, make sure. First Ezra 1. Wonder why this is. Just bear me 1 second. For some reason. Let me get another one. Just bear me 1 second. Okay, that one doesn't have it. So let's do it this way. Okay, that's why I got the wrong precept. It's First Ezra chapter 8. There we go. First Ezra chapter 8 and verse 74. Okay, so it reads, I said, O Lord, I am confounded and ashamed before thy face. This is Ezra speaking. It says, for our sins are multiplied above our heads, and our ignorances have reached up unto heaven. Right. And this is why the Lord punished us, because he said if we didn't keep his laws, statutes, and commandments, which he commanded us, that he would bring curses upon us. And that's how we find ourselves in the conditions that we're in today, in a destitute state, the downtrodden, the most spoken against, the bywords and the proverbs, like the scriptures say, the Lord will vex us in everything that we put forth our hand to do, so on and so forth. It says, forever, since the time of our fathers, we have been and are in great sin, even unto this day. And for our sins and our fathers, we, with our brethren, and our kings and our priests, were given up unto the kings of the earth, to the sword and to captivity and for a prey, with shame unto this day. And this is why the Lord is coming, to deal with Esau and the other nations because of, what they have done to us. Because although the Lord gave us into their hands, they went overboard with it, This is Zechariah 1 and 15. And I am very sore displeased with the heathen that are at ease, for I was but a little displeased, and they helped forward the affliction. So they went overboard with it. And then going overboard with it, I'm talking about they went overboard with it. I mean, they showed their extreme hatred for us, beginning with, the so-called Latin or Indian tribes that were here prior to or when Columbus and them got here, all the way until when the so-called Negro tribes were brought over here, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, and some of the other tribes that were with them, over to this side of the world. And they never stopped. From the moment they set foot on the soils of America, they have not stopped. This is Isaiah 47:6. I was wroth with my people. I have polluted mine inheritance and given them into thine hand. Thou didst show them no mercy. Upon the ancient hast thou very heavily laid thy yoke. So they showed no mercy to old or young. They showed no mercy, period. So guess what? The scriptures say they shall have judgment without mercy that have shown no mercy. And it says that mercy rejoices over judgment. And because they had that perpetual hatred, we'll get that. Ezekiel 35:5. Because they had that perpetual hatred, that rage didn't allow them to have any compassion on us. Especially Judah, So this is Ezekiel 35:5. And indirectly, when you really look at it spiritually, this was the Lord's anger upon Esau to punish us. This is Psalm 17:13. Arise, O Lord, disappoint him. Who? The Edomites. Because they're the ones in power. Because you have these clowns talking about, no, it doesn't say Esau, it says the wicked. Well, the scriptures identify Esau as the wicked. Read Malachi, the 1st chapter. Then it says that the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. So you want to play that game, we could play that game too. Arise, O Lord, disappoint him. Why? Because they are in power, in a position of rulership, and there's nothing that they can't accomplish or achieve. So the psalmist here, which is King David, this is a prayer to the Lord to disappoint these devils and their devices. It says, cast him down. Why? Because they're exalted. Deliver my soul from the wicked. Who is the wicked? The Edomites. Or who are the wicked? The Edomites, which is thy sword, because they are the sword of the Lord. So the fierce anger that they portrayed against us was coming directly from Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. It says, from men which are thy hand. See? And the Most High used Esau and shook Esau's hand, or the Lord's hand, or Esau over us. And that's how the Lord was telling us off. And that's how the Lord was repaying us back for the things that we did. Right? It says, O Lord, from men of the world, which have their portion in this life, and whose belly thou fillest with thy hid treasure, they are full of children, and leave the rest of their substance to their babes. Right? Because they have inheritances. Jake ain't got no inheritance, man. At the most, Jake will inherit their parents or their grandparents' debts, because we are subject to payments. That's about it. But as far as any real inheritance, that can really benefit Jake, to move him into the next phase of things, so to speak, that doesn't happen, man, in the so-called ghettos and the barrios like that. So before we go into any more precepts, right, I ran across this article earlier looking for because I was watching the Apostle Tar's video, the one he did about Russia and NATO and the U.S., and he had mentioned something in there prior to the Constitution, and I couldn't fully remember the whole name, so I searched it out, and it's called the Articles of Confederation. And in looking that up to post it for the Apostle on the video on the comment board, I ran across this other article, which blew my mind. It said, "This is today I found out. Feed your brain. Mississippi didn't officially outlaw slavery until 1995. Okay? There were 4 states that didn't comply with the so-called Emancipation Proclamation. And one of those states, I believe it was Jersey, I believe either 9 months later or a few days later, a couple of weeks later, they agreed. But there were 3 major states that did not comply with the order, and Mississippi was one of them. And Mississippi was the last state out of all the states to outlaw slavery, and it wasn't until 1995. So in Mississippi, it was still lawful to have slaves all the way up until 1995. It says, "Today I found out Mississippi didn't officially outlaw slavery until 1995. While the 13th Amendment was set into law, thus outlawing slavery anywhere in the United States, on December 6, 1865, when it secured the needed 27 of 36 states approval, 3/4. It wasn't until 130 years later, on March 16, 1995, that Mississippi finally got around to ratifying the 13th Amendment. See? And I believe one of the other states was Kentucky, and there was one more, I can't remember, but it was 4 altogether. Oh, here it's going to say it. As you might expect, this made Mississippi the last state to ratify it, with the previous state of the initial 36 being Kentucky in 1976. So Kentucky didn't outlaw slavery until 1976. It says, and before that, Delaware in 1901, see? And then in 1901, Delaware finally outlawed slavery. So you had Mississippi in 1995, Kentucky in 1976, and Delaware in 1901. All 3 of those states, along with New Jersey, initially rejected the amendment in 1865. Though just 9 months after rejecting it, New Jersey changed their mind and ratified it. The others took a little longer. I would say a lot longer. All right. And pretty much, you could read the rest of this, if you want. It's not that long, but I just wanted to bring out that point. I'll put this in the comments section here in the live chat, because I didn't get a chance to put it in the description box. Nope, I didn't get a chance to put it in the description box. So that just goes to show the hatred that Esau has for Jake, and this is just a part of it. They were so incensed and so angry with Jake that they didn't want to give up the slaves. You see? Ezekiel 35:5, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity and the time that their iniquity had an end. But wait a minute, ain't Esau supposed to be our brother? And this shows you that hatred and that animosity went all the way back to the womb. Those 2 spirits or 2 opposing spirits, and anytime they came back on the earth, they would be at odds with each other, fighting against each other. It says, therefore, as I live, saith the Lord, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Sith thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. So pretty much, Esau right now is a fugitive on the run. And I'm not talking about public enemy number 1. I'm talking about, meaning public enemy. I'm talking about they're the fugitives fleeing from justice. But even though they're fugitives, these heinous crimes that they've committed are still pursuing them wherever they go, because they haven't been charged yet. But they will be charged. Once the kingdom of heaven is established, the beginning of the payment is going to be when America is totally annihilated and destroyed. But then in the kingdom of heaven, that's when they're going to really begin their penance. This is Isaiah chapter 26 and verse 21. For behold, the Lord cometh out of his place to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity. The earth also shall disclose her blood and shall no more cover her slain. Because right now, there are certain things that we speak about. Like, for instance, you have statistics, you have different documentations and books that have been written about slavery. There's certain things that have been brought out of the heinous crimes that Esau committed against, the so-called North American Indians, the so-called Seminole Indians, and the rest of the so-called Indians of the so-called Americas, from Canada all the way down to South America and everything in between. But there's stuff that we don't know about. This is only stuff that's been documented. You got to remember the deaths and the atrocities that were committed that are not documented. But the Most High see, though, to quote Elder Yaquab, the word is galah. The word galah is to uncover, remove. So disclosure is looking into the evidence, that has been hidden. So the Lord is peeling the veil back, the cover back. It's not just, on the different things that these devils are trying to accomplish as far as the New World Order is concerned and all that. It's talking about their history. That's where the Lord said that he will spew shameful spewing on their glory. Because, you got America. You're at the top of the mountain, king of the mountain, so to speak. But the way you got it was not by right. And the world is seeing your nakedness for what you've done. and you're going to be held accountable for that in time to come. So it said that the earth shall no more disclose her blood, neither said no more and shall no more cover her slain. Right? There's not going to be any more covering. There's not going to be any more secrecy, no more, doing things and hiding your shameful past. The word there is kasah, to cover, conceal, hide. You won't be able to hide anymore because the Lord is making you bare, Esau. So going back to Ezekiel 35:7, thus will I make Mount Seir most desolate and cut off from it him that passeth out and him that returneth. So pretty much Esau is going to be totally annihilated after they serve their captivity, and today America is Basra, or the land of Edom, all over again. This is their capital, and this place is going to be totally annihilated too, because the land of the land of Edom is not going to be destroyed. The land of Edom is going to be given into the hands of Judah. You see, because land is wealth, and Judah is going to inherit that land. As much hell as Esau put on Jake, especially Judah, the Lord is going to allow Jake to get that land back once they're totally annihilated and destroyed. So going back to First Ezra's 8:77, and for our sins and our fathers, we with our brethren and our kings and our priests were given up unto the kings of the earth, to the sword and to captivity, and for a prey with shame unto this day. So you have to pay, for the crimes and atrocities committed against the children of Israel. Although the Most High used you to do this, to punish us, now it's time for you to pay. Because the Lord said, let's go real quick to Nahum chapter 1 and 3. The Lord is slow to anger and great in power, and will not at all acquit the wicked. So the Lord is not going to acquit you. All right. You're not going to receive clemency. You're not going to receive a pardon. You're not going to slide out the back door. You like to chase people down and make them pay you. There's certain crimes that people commit that you say that there's no statute of limitation. So they could find somebody that's 103 years old that committed a crime when they was in their 20s. And if they find them, they'll put them in jail for the rest of their natural life based off of that crime that they committed. So the crimes that you've committed have been following you for centuries. And there's no way to get around it. And you're going to have to pay, because today they'll say, well, you wasn't in slavery. I didn't do it. I wasn't back then. Yeah, yes, you were. There's a such thing called reincarnation in the Bible. And you were back there doing the same exact things that you're doing now. But you just don't want to pay. But you're going to pay, because the Lord said he will not at all acquit the wicked. Isaiah 34:5. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea and upon the people of my curse to judgment. So why is the Lord going to bring this devastation and destruction? And why does he mention the Edomites? This is the Greek way of saying Edom. Because they are the ones in rulership and power right now. The earth has been given into their hands. And when you understand the scriptures and the prophecies and the way that they're written, you know that Esau would be the last ruler on the planet Earth before the Lord Yahushai comes back with the angels to decimate his kingdom and to take the reins. It says the sword of the Lord is filled with blood. It is made fat with fatness. That's dealing with your military and people in general. And with the blood of lambs and goats, with the fat of the kidneys of rams. For the Lord hath a sacrifice in Basra, and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea, which this represents America today, because the land of Idumea didn't suffer what this is speaking about. Because when you read the 4th verse, it says that all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll. So what is going to do this? The wave, after the explosion goes up. You've seen different videos out there, where they show you how they drop atomic bombs or different bombs, and then the smoke that goes up into the clouds, and it enfolds the clouds. So that's what they call it a mushroom cloud, and that's what the different prophets describe as the heavens being rolled together as a scroll. That's talking about the nuclear destruction. And that's the terminology they had back then. They didn't have the terminology of mushroom cloud. The terminology was, as you read here, the heavens were rolled together as a scroll. So the land of ancient Edom was not destroyed in this fashion. This is a future prophecy. And even the scholars that put together the Zondervan's Bible Dictionary understand this. Not this per se, this scripture here in particular, but they understand that this chapter here in Isaiah 34 is something that's going to come upon the Edomites in the future, as well as Isaiah 63 and others. It says, and all their hosts shall fall down, and the leaf, as the leaf falleth off from the vine, and as a falling fig from the fig tree. So the Lord he has a great slaughter in the land of Idumea, but why? Let's read on. And the unicorn shall come down with them, and the bullocks with the bulls, as like your military and just everybody in general. And their land shall be soaked with blood. Why? Because of the devastation, the destruction, and their dust made fat with fatness. For it is the day of the Lord's vengeance. See, the Lord is coming to bring vengeance. He's not going to acquit you. It says, and the year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion. See, so for what you did to the Lord's people, you touched the apple of the Lord's eye. And guess what? Now you got to pay, man. You had fun, right? But now you got to pay. The word controversy is riyab, strife, controversy, dispute. So this is the Most High's dispute or his quarrel against you. And this is why I could get rid of this here now. And this is why when we go to the Apocrypha, Wisdom of Solomon 5:1, it reads, then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him and made no account of his labor. So this is the Most High putting the Spirit upon the prophets to go out here and to let you know that what you did isn't right and that you're going to have to pay. So this is the Lord witnessing against you. This is his complaint. This is his quarrel against you, his controversy. And it's being meted out by the prophets to you. They're giving you the instructions of what's coming in the near future for you. Now let's go from there to 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and 53. And then we're going to jump. If thou hadst not always slain my chosen, exalting a stroke of thine hand and saying over their dead body when thou was drunken. See? So this is what you did. You heavily laid on strokes upon Israel, upon our people. Then we jump down, and that's a good scripture in Psalms too. Lord's will I can get that. Then we jump down to the 56th verse. It says, like as thou hast done unto my chosen, saith the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, even so shall the Most High do unto thee, and shall deliver thee into mischief. And that's what you got to look forward to, mischief. You like shedding blood, or your blood will be shed. Now we're going to jump back up to the 20th verse. And it says, behold, saith the Most High, I will call together all the kings of the earth to reverence me, which are from the rising of the sun, from the south, from the east, and Libanus, to turn themselves one against another, and repay the things that they have done to them. To who? To the Israelites. To our people. And this is what they got to pay for. And this is why the Lord is gathering these nations together to do this. Let's go real quick to Zephaniah 3:8. It says, therefore wait ye upon me, saith the Lord. Matter of fact, where's Isaiah 34? Did I let that go yet? Let me get Isaiah 34 again, because there's more meat. There's a lot more meat here. So let's go. All right, so let's go back. Zephaniah 3:8. Therefore wait ye upon me, saith the Lord, until the day that I rise up to the prey. For my determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them mine indignation. See? So that's the Lord. He's gathering these nations and amassing these armies over there in the Middle East to pour upon them his indignation. Because you have to remember that all nations had us in captivity at one point or another, at one time period or another. So the Lord is bringing them over there to plead with them, to bring forth his judgment upon them. Even all my fierce anger, for all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy, because this is how Esau's world is going to come to an end. Now we go to Isaiah 34, and we start at the top. It says, come near, the Most High, up top it says, the Most High's wrath against nations. Why? We read in the 8th verse, for the controversy of Zion. So Isaiah 34:1, come near, ye nations, to hear, and hearken, ye people. Let the earth hear, and all that is therein. The world. This is a worldwide event. This message is to the nations of the world, because we are prophets to the nations. It tells you that in the book of Jeremiah, the 1st chapter. And all things that come forth of it. For the indignation of the Lord is upon what? All nations. And it's telling you in this chapter why the Lord has indignation against all these nations. And he's letting you know, even in this chapter, who is the top nation? The Idumeans, or the Edomites. And his fury upon all their what? Armies. And this is why the Lord is amassing these armies over there, to pour upon them his indignation. It says, he hath utterly destroyed them. He hath delivered them to the slaughter. Right. And it goes on and on and on. This whole chapter is dynamite. It's dynamite. All right, so let's go back to 2nd Ezra. Okay, no, we're done with that. Let's go from there to the book of Revelation, chapter 16. Revelation 16 and 12. Right here it says Armageddon. And the word Armageddon is a compound word. Armageddon goes back to the Hebrew Har Magad 1. Har is mount or mountain. God is troop, and the one at the end makes it plural. So Har Magad 1, the mountain of troops. Another word that's synonymous with this, or compound word, is the term Jehoshaphat, or Yahweh Shaphat, which means the Most High Yahweh's judgment. And what is a judgment? He's amassing these nations over there, because that's the final analysis and the final scene of prophecy, before the kingdom of heaven is established again. So right now, we're in the midst of one of the greatest prophecies ever being fulfilled right now, which is the MOTB. Then not too long after that would be, WW3. And then the kingdom comes. Because once, they really push out this MOTB hard, really, really hard, and finally get everything digital, what's going to happen is it's going to cause a lot of problems to the world population. And this is where famines are going to come in, because people are going to be cut out of society, because those that don't comply with them are going to be, ostracized. To give it a nice fancy word. So Revelation 16 and 12. And the 6th angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates. And the river Euphrates is a very key river and a very key location on the planet for future prophecy. And this is heavy, because when you go back, there is a lot of things that have been changed, name-wise, lands and bodies of water and so on and so forth. But for some reason, the Spirit of the Lord allowed them and made them keep the name Euphrates, because you had the Ezekiel, right? That's the Tigris. So they call it the Tigris. They don't call it by its ancient name anymore. All the other 4 heads, they don't call them by the ancient names anymore. Most bodies of water, except, you still have some that retain their name, but most bodies of water have a different name than the biblical name. But for some reason, the Lord made sure that the Euphrates kept that name. So it says, and the water thereof was dried up. And we see that going on now, because the Lord it's time for the prophecies to be fulfilled, and the waters around that area are starting to dissipate. That the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. And this is what the Lord is doing. He's preparing this whole thing. Like, when you were a young boy, you used to like to play with the army men. What would you do? You would set up the army men, put the both opposing side, it took you a while to set up all the pieces, in place, and then you would either take stones or whatever and throw it at them, to knock them down. And that's what the Lord is doing right now. He's setting up the pawns so that Yahushua can come and knock them down. So you got hetoi matzo, which is to make ready, prepare. Yeah, it's a preparation to make the necessary preparations, get everything ready. So the Lord is getting everything ready by bringing these nations over there to the Middle East, especially really their armies, because that's who's going to really fight this last battle of Armageddon. Salakia. And the battle of Armageddon is not Satan himself, the spiritual demon Satan, fighting against Michael and Yahushua and the angels. No, the Satan that is speaking about the so-called white men, the Edomites. They are the physical representation or the physical counterpart of the spiritual demon Satan on earth. Read Matthew the 13th chapter. So the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, which is the Roman Empire today, represented by America. Because America is the revival of the ancient Roman Empire. So whenever you see the dragon, it's usually speaking about the Roman Empire, in this case, America. It says, and out of the mouth of the beast is NATO and the EU. All right. It says, and out of the mouth of the false prophet would be the Roman Catholic Church. And that's who is, those 3 entities there are what's working behind the scenes to bring about, this Third World War, because they have a plan, the Pike-Massini blueprint, which is 3 world wars, and then after that, they will have the world in their hand, you had, and then to show you this, you had something called the, what was that called? Reich, I believe it was the Reich Concordat. I know I'm not spelling it correct, but here we go. Reich Concordat of 1933. This was during the time of Hitler. It was signed on 20th July 1933 by Cardinal Secretary of State Eugenio Pacelli. This is the Roman Catholic Church with Germany, who later became Pope Pius XII, on behalf of Pope Pius XI and Vice Chancellor Franz von Papen, on behalf of President Paul von Hindenburg and the German government. So what the hell is the Roman Catholic Church doing signing anything with the Germans? I would have to go more into this to find out exactly, all the particulars about it. Okay, so it was for church interests and its freedom to act. All right, so they could probably try to use that, But anyways, let's go back to Revelation 16. Like I said, I would have to look into that a little bit more. It says, for they are the spirits of devils working miracles, right? Because they are the devil. They're Edomites working miracles, and that's what they do. That's why you have the technology that you have today that is working miraculous things, bringing miraculous cures. That's why they want to change people's, D to the N to the A at a molecular level. See? Augmentation. IOB, Internet of Bodies, which go forth unto the kings of the earth. See, so they're going forth to the kings of the earth for what? And of the whole world, to gather them to the battle of the great day of the power Almighty. And that's exactly what they're doing. Behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame. And he gathered them together into a place called in the Hebrew tongue Armageddon. And this is where the final battle will take place. And then from here it tells you, how they will be destroyed, and Babylon will be destroyed, so on and so forth. So let's go from there. Let's go to the next chapter over, Revelation 17:1. And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. This great whore is America. The many waters are peoples, nations, tongues, and the judgment is this thermonuclear destruction, along with the lasers from the chariots that are coming to totally annihilate this place. You know? And the angel is breaking it down for the Apostle John, because the previous chapter spoke about this great war that's being set up and how Babylon is going to be destroyed. You know, so the angel is breaking it down for the Apostle John, you know, in the 17th and the 18th chapters, you know, of who this place is, even though he didn't understand it. But this was really for us today. So it says, with whom what? So this harlot with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication. So they've been in bed with America. You know, they've been partakers of the luxuries and glories of America. They've, you know, pretty much set up their countries like America. You know, this is why whenever you go anywhere on the planet Earth, you have what? Skyscrapers. Skyscrapers didn't begin in China. Skyscrapers didn't begin in Russia. They didn't begin in Africa. They began in America, specifically in Chicago, which the first, I don't remember the name of the insurance company, but it was an insurance company that had the first skyscraper ever in the world. And that skyscraper was 10 stories high. And from that point on, that set the model for the rest of, you know, those tall buildings, which they call skyscrapers. And the nations, you know, took on that to themselves. You have different restaurants named, you know, after these American restaurants like McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, whatever the case may be. Whatever they have here, they have over there. You know, they try to mimic America. You know, the women want to come here so that they can become sluts and hoes like these sluts and hoes here. Because these sluts and hoes got too much freedom. See? So this place is a demoralized place. You know, a debaucherous place. A place that's low. That's pretty much a scumbag place. You know, but it's painted as this great ball of freedom. You know? Salakia. This great ball of freedom. It says, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of a fornication. Right. And they've been drunk with the wine of America's fornication. All right. So let's see what else we got. Oh, let's jump down to the 18th verse. This is a key verse in this chapter. It says, and the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. And no, that doesn't fit anybody else but America. So because America is Babylon the Great. All right. So she's reigning over the kings of the earth. Oh, here we go. The home, let me see. The home insurance building built in 1885 and located on the corner of Adams and LaSalle Streets in Chicago, Illinois, went down in history as the world's first modern skyscraper. See? And somebody, you know, fact check that, which is the truth. Yep, the home insurance building in Chicago. Yeah, so, all right, so now let's go from there. Let's go to the next chapter. We're going to read a couple of verses there, and we get ready to close it out because I got some business to attend to. This is Revelation 18:1. And after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, is fallen. So he's witnessing the destruction of America, Babylon the Great, and has become the habitation of devils and the hold of every foul spirit and a cage for every unclean and hateful bird. And you can read about this in the end of Isaiah, the 13th chapter, in the middle of Isaiah, the 34th chapter, because this place is going to be inhabited by desert creatures. You know, unclean desert creatures. It says, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, because all nations have been partakers in America, Babylon the Great's, you know, ventures, for lack of better words. And the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. Right. And that's why all nations are rich now, self-sustaining, but they're still selling their wares here because they can still make money. But the way things are going is not looking too good. And I observed yesterday when I went to go get gas, last week sometime, not even a week ago, the gas was like 360 something, 370 something. I went to go get gas yesterday and it was 427. So it jumped about 50 cents in a matter of a couple of, maybe not even a week. So there's like a hyperinflation going on just on gas alone. And as I was looking at that, I was meditating that is pretty much the what can really set forth this whole thing in motion, as far as goods not being shipped out anymore, because truckers are not going to be able to afford, gas to move these supplies around, So, this could very well be what brings a shutdown to these truckers, because if they can't afford, if it's not worth them, getting on the road to drop, these supplies off so that they, can make money, because if they're losing money, then what's the sense? And that's going to even bring this thing even more to a halt. And somebody sent me a meme. I was cracking up. He said, yeah, 1200 on pump 5 or whatever the case may be, and pretty much saying that they're getting ready for summer gas prices. So, hey, this is all prophecy. So now let's jump from there to the 9th verse. It says, and the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her when they see the smoke of her burning. Right, because the kings of the earth are going to be sad, meaning the rulers of the earth, because they're not going to be able to sell their wares here anymore. They're not going to be able to receive any benefits from America. Standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, alas, alas, that great city Babylon. It says, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. That's right. It's only going to take 1 hour for Yahushua and the angels to totally annihilate this place. And notice that it takes longer to set something up than it does to knock it down. Your sand castles. I spoke about the little army men that you used to set up. Take you a long time to set all that up, and within not even a minute you could knock it all down. So that's what the Lord is doing. He's setting the dominoes up to knock them down. So this is the last precept here. Revelation 16:17, and the seventh angel put out his vial into the air, and there came a great voice out of the temple of heaven from the throne, saying, it is done. Yeah, because that's the end of this phase. That's the end of the prophecies concerning these nations ruling and being brought down. And there were voices and thunders and lightnings, and there was a great earthquake, such as was not since men were upon the earth, so mighty an earthquake and so great. And the great city was divided into 3 parts, and the cities of the nations fell. And great Babylon came in remembrance before the Most High to give unto her the cup of the wine of his wrath. Right, because the Lord is going to give them the fury of his wrath, that cup of his fierceness, without mixture. And every island fled away, and the mountains were not found. And there fell upon men a great hail out of heaven, every stone about the weight of a talent. And these, the Apostle John was writing down, what he was writing down was a representation of the missiles. So he looked up, he said they weigh about a talent. A talent is about 75 to 100 pounds or so. So when he saw these things, he looked at it and said, man, this is hail that weighs about 100 pounds. And that's how he described the missiles coming down. And men blasphemed the Most High because of the plague of the hail, for the plague thereof was exceeding great. Right. And that's the smoke of her torment that's going to be coming up that we read in the book of Revelation, the 18th chapter. So pretty much with that, I had a couple other precepts, but I didn't get a chance to go to them. But pretty much I think the point is already made. Let's see. Revelation 19:19, and I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies, gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse and against his army. And what happened? They were totally demolished in that lake of fire. And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that received the mark of that received the MOTB, and them that worshipped his image. These both were cast alive into a lake of fire burning with brimstone, right, which is the nuclear missiles. And the image of the beast is not a picture of Caesar Borgia. You know, it's the mirroring, for lack of better words, of the ancient Roman Empire. That's that image. That because remember, the beast was slain, and then it was brought back to life. And what did they do? They pretty much took on or brought back to life, you know, the same way that the Roman people lived, the Senate House and all of that. That's what they did here in America. Same thing. Elder Pastor painted a beautiful picture when I was watching this video. I'm almost done watching it. It's like an hour, 22 minutes. And he pretty much said that, you know, you have slavery, and then you have, you know, people forgot about it pretty much. And during the 80s, I believe it was, 70s, 80s, they were doing all of these different slave movies. And these slave movies like, you know, Mandingo, Drum, you know, Roots and all of that, they pretty much painted an image of what slavery was like. You see? So that's like an image. It's not talking about an actual thing that you carve out or paint. You know, it's just something that mimics, you know, the thing that it represents. Because he looked the word image up, which goes back to the word icon, right? But the root word to that, which was bad, you got icon, right? But then you got the word ico. And ico is what? To be like. So pretty much America, or to resemble. So America resembles the ancient Roman Empire. You know, all you have to do is go to the Senate House, go to their different buildings, the different structures that they have. They're just like the ancient Roman Empire. They got everything that they got from the ancient Roman Empire. Their laws, their building, you know, the Latin, you know, that your most professions that you go to, you have to know the Latin terms of certain things, you know. So let's see what else we got here. Matter of fact, let me go back. It says, and the remnant were slain with the sword of him that sat upon the horse, which is Yahushai, which sword proceeded out of his mouth, and all the fowls were filled with their flesh. Yeah, because the Lord promised these birds a feast, a meal. And these devils are going to be hiding from the wrath of the Lamb. Revelation 16 and 15. I started 14. And the heaven departed as a scroll, which we just read in Isaiah 34, when it is rolled together. And every mountain and island were moved out of their places, meaning the different governments. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every freeman, hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb, which is them hiding in these fallout shelters. For the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? And the last precept, which we already read, I'll read it again, 2 Ezra 15 and 20. Behold, saith the Most High, I will call together all the kings of the earth to reverence me, which are from the rising of the sun, from the south, from the east, and Libanus, to turn themselves one against another, and repay the things that they have done to them. So the Lord is bringing this destruction for the lewdness of this world, you know, the people in it, but also for what the kings of the nations have done against the nation of Israel. And you can read in the book of Revelation 11 how they were sending gifts one to another, which were pretty much slaves. You know, and even in Revelation 18, it speaks about the souls of men and slaves were these are some of the commodities that are still sold here to this day. And we just witnessed that in Mississippi, they didn't officially outlaw slavery until 1995. And then in Kentucky, it was until 1976, and in Delaware until 1901. You know, will show you the disdain that these devils have for Jake. Ezekiel 35. So with that, I pray that you brothers and your few sisters have been edified. Until the next time I say, Shalom.